Good evening and Merry Christmas. And welcome to A Creative Life Christmas Eve. And this is by our count, which changes every year, our 40th annual Christmas Eve together, starting when we were in 1983 when we were a study group, and it was in a living room. And it was really, really cold. It was like 22 degrees or something. And somebody said, let's have a living nativity scene out in the front yard. We all laughed, you know. Anyway, we've got a wonderful program for you tonight, and I'm going to ask you to break with Creative Life tradition in one respect, and that is please do not applaud, because this is a service and not a show, and what we've worked really diligently on is to create an emotional flow that runs through the evening, balancing music and speech, okay? So just let it all kind of flow over you and see what sort of experience you have. And then at the end, you'll be invited to come up and light your candle. You'll see these candles are labeled with tent cards, thanks to Melody Tipton, and you will light your candle off any of the attributes on those cards that you choose to incorporate into your life in the year to come, all right? And while you're doing that, some beautiful music will be playing under it. And if you're wondering about if you came in here just really intent on making a financial contribution to Creative Life, as I'm sure you did, we're not going to take up a collection. Also, to not break the emotional flow, but there is a donation basket sitting on a little table at the end of the aisle there. All right? So I welcome you, and now I tell you what, let's do this. I know you want to get the applause out of your system. Geoffrey Oshman, Mary Radspinner, Dainill Mercadel, Reverend Lisa Ryan, Reverend David Dewhurst, Melody Berryman, Theo Berryman, and Brian Schwanitz. Did I miss anybody?
Jesse Jennings.
Well, and me. Thank you. And I did miss somebody else, and that's Kimberly Gibson. And Kimberly had rehearsed diligently for tonight to be here, and she's ill, and she couldn't be with us. And so please give her a hand too, because I know she's watching, and she's here in spirit, and you'll hear from her real soon.
Till tonight, my heart was just half full. I'd never known the fruit which fed the soul.
Now I see what may put to rest my longing, for I have seen the face of love, the grace of God, the face of love. In silence I feared my heart would remain, words unheard, inside a separateness of skin. But now I know that the skin just veils the soul, for I have seen the face of love, the grace of God, the face of love.
So take my hand, and knowing with it I also give my heart, wanting never to be separate again. Let eternity begin. If you were a flame, I'd allow myself to be consumed completely. Were you the wind, I'd wish you to pass through me.
But now I know that the skin just veils the soul, for I have seen the face of love, the grace of God, the face of love.
This reading comes from Luke chapter 2, verses 6 through 14. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothing, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over the flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I will bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is the Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothing and lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with an angel a multitude of the heavenly hosts, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace and goodwill toward all men. This time of year, there are many holidays, traditions, and celebrations. One of the ones that we celebrate most in this hemisphere is Christmas. And during Christmas, we honor the birth of the baby Jesus. The birth of this baby was more, from what we're told, than any other child that has ever been born. And one of the main reasons why is because it brought hope. Hope is such a powerful, amazing feeling. I think the only thing that can be equivalent is love. But it is in hope that people found salvation, people found relief, people found a new voice, a new life within them to fight for what they wanted and needed in their world. And it is because of the hope that this one little baby brought into the world that a whole entire group of people could continue to move on and go on. We have experienced that, or maybe you have, or maybe you have not. If you've ever had children, if you've ever had someone new born into your family, if you've ever been around a baby just for a few minutes, the joy, the wonder, the amazement in every teeny tiny little thing, from a light to some sparkling speck to some noise or song, there's this just enchantment with it that is infectious. It is this that I would like to infect you with tonight. The possibility of what could be. The potential of what has not happened yet. Yes, of course, there's always worries. There's always things that need to be healed. You know, it was funny. I was looking up inner child because I wanted to get us talking about our inner child. And I found all of these things about how you heal your inner child, how our inner child needs to be healed from the trauma of childhood. Because of everything that we've been through, we need to heal from all of that. Nothing, and I searched through many things, nothing, not one single thing told me about how to play with my inner child. I challenge you to play with your inner child. Have fun. Laugh. Explore happiness again. Be creative again. See what brings you joy. And it doesn't have to bring anyone else joy, and it doesn't have to be seen by the masses, and you don't even have to tell anybody if you don't want to. But just experience joy in your own way, in your own right. Remind yourself that you as a human being have the right to be happy, to have joy, to be creative, and to love yourself. Above all, love yourself. And if you've had a difficult time with that, if that hasn't come easy to you, that's okay. Because guess what? We have a new year coming. You have a new day tomorrow. You always, if you open your eyes and you take a breath, you have a fresh start. Each and every moment of each and every day, you choose what you want your life to look like and be like and feel like. If you've been in this teaching for longer than 5 minutes, you already know thoughts plus feeling equals belief. What thoughts do you have going through your mind? What feelings are you nurturing within yourself? What beliefs did you want to ripple out into the world to make this world a better place? Because that's our job as godlings. Our job is to make this world just a little bit better than it was yesterday. And the way that we do that is by discovering that joy, that new life, that new love, that new exciting feeling of something that's possibility and potential, and bringing it out into form through our actions, through our words, through the way we move and live and breathe in this world. So with that, I invite each and every one of you tomorrow morning when you open your eyes, first, find gratitude in the fact that you did, because many didn't. And second, reach for that new potential possibility that has yet to unfold in your life. Rejuvenate your spirit, rejuvenate your soul. Thank you. We did not have candles.
This is a baby just like you. The season is upon us now, a time for gifts and giving. And as the year draws to its close, I think about my living. The Christmas time when I was young, the magic and the wonder. But colors dull and candles dim, and darkness standing under. Oh, little angel, shining light, you fill my life with dreaming. You given back my joy in life and filled me with new meaning. A Savior child was born this night, a baby just like you. And as the wise men came with gifts, I come with my gifts too. That peace on earth fills up your time, and brotherhood surrounds you. And you shall know the warmth of love and wrap it all around you. It's just a wish, a dream, I'm told, from days when I was young. Merry Christmas, little Nolan. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas to all the children, and Merry Christmas, everyone. On the hills fill my heart with winter chills. Christmas has once again found me. Dreams of my childhood and presents round the tree. Family and friends all around me. I'm coming home, back to the place I love. I'm coming home this December. Old songs and cheer with the ones that I hold dear. Christmas the way I remember.
Lights all aglow and twinkling everywhere. Children with joy on their faces. Choirs sing old carols in each town and village square. Friends share the warmest embraces.
I'm coming home, back to the place I love. I'm coming home this December. Old songs and cheer with the ones that I hold dear. Christmas the way I remember. Old photographs make me long for Christmas Eve. Everyone back home together. These are the moments I really do believe. Love lasts forever and ever. I'm coming home, back to the place I love. I'm coming home this December. Old songs and cheer with the ones that I hold dear. Christmas the way I remember. I'm coming home, back to the place I love. I'm coming home this December. Old songs and cheer with the ones that I hold dear. Christmas the way I remember. Christmas the way I remember.
So there's a little bit of a theme to the 4 talks. We divided up the age of people. And I volunteered to take teenagers. Just like when I was in Sunday school, I volunteered to take teenagers. Because everybody loves teenagers, right? They love other people's teenagers. Which was good for me, because I had never had teenagers of my own. I got to love everybody else's teenagers. And there's an advantage to that. I only have them for a short period of time, so I get to love on them, because I don't get to see when they misbehave. Now let's talk about Jesus for a minute. If you Google, Jesus is a teenager. Luke was the only one who put a little snippet in. And technically Jesus wasn't even a teenager, he was 12. But at 13 is when you become an adult in the Hebrew tradition. So, that's what we're going to take it. So, there's this one passage. It's basically roughly Luke chapter 2, 39 to 52. All right? Each year, his parents went to Jerusalem for the feast of Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to the festival as custom. After they had completed the days, as they were returning, the boy Jesus remained behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. Thinking he was with the caravan, they journeyed for a day and looked for him among their relatives and acquaintances. But not finding him, they returned to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were astounded at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, "Son, why have you done this to us? Your father and I have been looking for you with great anxiety." And he said to them, "Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. He went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. And his mother kept all of these things in her heart. And Jesus was advanced in wisdom and age and favor before God and men. That's it. That is all that the Bible has to say about Jesus as a teenager, as a youth. And you heard the teenager, right? Why were you looking for me? Didn't you know where I'd be? Every teenager says that at least once. And it's not unusual, apparently, because the women and the men would travel separately when they would go to these festivals. And so he was at that age where he could have traveled with the women, but he could have also traveled with the men, which is why it made it so easy for him to slip off at that peak age of 12. Now, there were a couple of websites that did talk about Jesus as a teenager. And they mentioned that passage, thank God, or I might not have ever found it. But they always want to say, follow in Jesus' footsteps. But let's talk about what line they want to talk about. They want teenagers to follow in Jesus' footsteps about being obedient to his parent. Okay? Have you met me? Do you think that's what I'm going to lean into? No. What I'm going to lean into is he sat among the teachers and he asked questions. That is the right of teenagers, to ask questions. Because the world is about to dump a whole lot on them. The world is going to say, this is the way you need to be. And it's going to be contradictory. You need to do this, you need to do that, you want to be this, you want to do that. You have to make this much money or you're never going to be happy. And if you don't believe this, well, then you're wrong. Teenagers have a lot. They've got a lot of information coming at them. And what they are not encouraged to do is question the information coming at them, to question the authority. Now, Jesus had one advantage, but I'm going to argue that you have that same advantage. When Jesus was born, Jesus came into this world knowing who he was. He knew from the get-go, from the moment he was born, he knew who he was and what he was here to do. And so he spent his time, because you did hear me say he advanced in wisdom and in age. Okay? Well, he came into the world knowing who he was, knowing what he was going to do. I would argue that you came into this world knowing who you are and knowing what you're here to do. And then you let the world convince you otherwise. Okay? So I'm going to invite you to explore who you are. What I like to say is peel back the layers of everything that you have been told that you are. Peel back the layers of what society has told you. Peel back the layers of what culture has told you. Peel back the layers of what religion has told you. Peel back the layers of the stereotypes. Peel back the layers of the archetypes. Yeah, I'm going to go there. Peel back the layers of gender normatives. Peel it all back and get to know who God knows you to be. Because I can promise you one thing. The person that God knows you to be, that person is good. And because as teenagers we all want to be cool, I'm pretty sure that the person that God knows you to be is also cool. So what did Jesus do as a teenager? We don't know. I suspect he was in Hebrew school from kindergarten to high school. I suspect he was trained as a rabbi. How else did he know those stories so well? But I also know that what he did do is he deepened his connection daily with the source of his being. So I invite you to do that as well. Jesus learned how to interact with people so that they would listen to him. He learned how to touch people's hearts. He learned how to relate to people. It's never too late. Whatever your teenage years were like, you can let that go and go back and be the teenage Jesus. Speak with authority. Sit among the teachers. And know and own your own authority. Know who you are. Because who you are is between you and God. And nobody else really has a say. So I invite you in this Christmas season to get to know yourself, to question authority, and to choose a daily spiritual practice where you get to know who you are. And let everything else go. My candle's on this side.
Well, if you're asleep before the duet, you are not asleep. No. You know, there's advantages and disadvantages to speaking further down the program. The first advantage is that you get ideas from the other two speakers. Thank you very much, Dainill. Thank you, Reverend Lisa. The disadvantage is that they say things that you were going to say, and they read passages from the Bible that you were going to read. Thank you, Dainill and Reverend Lisa. In Corinthians 13:11 it says, "When I was a child, I understood as a child. I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things." We heard from Dainill tonight that some childish things we don't put away. And one of them is joy. And I get to speak about the adult stage of life tonight. So if you only remember two things about what I'm going to say, remember these two things. One is awareness, and the other one is love. When I was a kid, I used to love the mystery of Christmas. I used to love the manger scenes. We had a great one in our church. And we also had a really big one in the town center. And I used to love kind of the majesty of it. And I used to wait in earnest for the three kings to come. And nobody knows if they were kings, by the way. It only mentions presents. It doesn't mention three people anywhere in there. And the other thing, of course, I liked was, as a little kid, was presents. You know, going to midnight mass had its attraction because when I came home, I found that magically Santa Claus, aka Father Christmas in England, had been, and he knew exactly what I wanted, and he left all my presents there. But as I grew up, when I became a teenager, the presents were still important. But the magical side of Christmas was kind of disappearing, just because I was a teenager. And Reverend Lisa talks about teenagers, and you know what teenagers are interested in, and it certainly isn't manger scenes, not normally. And then when I became an adult, I started to look at things differently. And I want you to think about adulthood in a different way. And Reverend Lisa sort of led into this, that she was saying that Jesus was 12 years old when he went to the temple and he was teaching and listening to the wise people. So put aside the idea that you're a kid at this age, you're a teenager at this age, and an adult at the other age. We all mature at different rates, and we all mature in different areas of our life in different ways. And spiritually, I can only speak from my own experience. As I grew older, I put aside the idea of becoming a priest because I found out celibacy probably wasn't a good idea for me. But I did start getting interested in the mystical side of things. And if you look at the mystical side of Christianity, you get a completely different take on things. You know, in the Bible, it tells us, and I've got to read this. It's in John 3:16. It says, "For God so loved the world that God gave God's only Son, that whoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." For most of my life, I took that literally. But then when I matured spiritually, became an adult spiritually, I realized, and Reverend Jesse spoke about this morning when he talked about Meister Eckhart, who was a Middle Ages mystic, that Eckhart's idea of Jesus being born wasn't that God's only Son was born once, but God's only Son is continually born. He said, what good is it to me if God's only Son was born 1,400 years ago? That God is born in each one of us. So God gives birth to each one of us. And this is, in my opinion, an adult way of looking at life as you move forward. It isn't to detract from what Jesus said at all. In fact, Jesus really, if you read through the readings, doesn't claim to be God. He claims to be an expression of God. And each and every single one of us here is an expression of that divine source. And we're not saying that we're the whole of God. We're not. We're individual expressions of God. And this is a more mature way of looking at life. And it absolutely does not detract from things. Jesus gave us two real main messages. Well, he gave us a lot, but the two I want to talk about now are love and also looking inside ourselves. You know, we all tend to look outside ourselves for solutions, or we go and ask other people for solutions. But Jesus told us the kingdom of heaven is within you. Sometimes he said, the kingdom of God is within you. So my message tonight is this. It's to look inside yourself and examine yourself. And if you need to forgive yourself, you have to do that. But always remember what Dainill said, it's to take along the joy. Don't leave the joy behind. One exercise you can do, and it's a simple one, and it's difficult at first, believe it or not, is every day is to look in the mirror, look yourself straight in the eyes, and tell yourself, I love you. And repeat that to yourself several times. And I kid you not, eventually you will come to realize that that's the truth. Because if God so loved the world and God so loves you, what right have you not to love yourself? How do you do this? You live in awareness. When you live in awareness, you're able to respond to life and not react to life. So my two messages to you are today, to love, because Jesus told us to love one another, and also to live in awareness, because you truly have got a gift to give to the world and to yourself when you live in awareness. So the two messages are live in awareness and live in love, and you will have a great life, and you will make a great contribution to life as you move on.
Well, I got left with old age. I'm not the oldest person in the room, but I'm older than I ever was. Think about that for a minute, would you? So we're looking at 4 stages of life. We took these from Shakespeare's 7 stages of life and As You Like It and compressed them a little so that this didn't turn into a vigil tonight. And also our musicians, would run out of voice and finger. Well, so I'm thinking, rather than a Bible passage, I'll give you this. E. Cummings, the poet. Children remembered, but only a few, and down they forgot as up they grew. That's why so many of the readings, prayers, musical tributes tonight have incorporated the child. Dainill spoke of this, the inner child. Often we pathologize the inner child. You know what we say? The poor little child. How often have you heard that? Oh, the poor child. How about the rich little child? How about the rich child who knows who they are? The way the infant Jesus did, as Reverend Lisa pointed out. So I'm thinking about old age in respect to the Christmas story, or if you prefer, if you don't like the term old age, see, I feel like I can say that now because I kind of crossed the threshold and got Medicare and stuff. Well, elderhood, seniority. I thought, how do I relate this to the life of Jesus? You know why? He never got there. There's a mention of him, as you heard, of his infancy. There's a mention of him as he's coming of age, as a preteen. Then he disappears for 18 years in the narrative. Then he comes back and he has a ministry. You know how long his ministry was? 3 years. More or less 3 years. He's preceded by his cousin, John the Baptist, who says, no, it's not me, there's one who will come after. 3 years. And I've given you this information before, but it just blows my mind, so I have to say it again, is that if you take all the red ink in the Gospels, and there's a little bit, I think, into the book of Acts, if you take all of the statements that Jesus the Christ is said to have uttered, and you put them all back to back, and recited them, and recorded what you were reciting, you'd have less than 3.5 hours. In 3.5 hours, this was how he communicated. He became what an historian has called the hinge on which the door of history swings tonight. So I want to come back to him, but I have 3 notes to give you tonight. And the first is about kind of the elephant in the room that we haven't really, David sort of alluded to him, but we haven't really talked, Santa Claus. Santa Claus. Because frankly, it wouldn't be a Christmas Eve service without some mention of Santa Claus. And Santa Claus was an old guy. He's never pictured as being young, right? A hallmark of his, too, we think of wisdom being connected to old age, and what I want you to realize is it's typically older people who say that. But what Santa does is the same thing every year, year in, year out. Get in the sleigh, go visit every home, drop off toys. The only thing that's different is the quality of the toys that changes from year to year. When I was a little kid, I got an Etch-a-Sketch. Do you know what an Etch-a-Sketch is? Some of you do. It's basically sand between 2 covers of plastic with 2 little dials on it, and you could make a line, a little squiggly line. It was a useless thing, and it entertained me for hours. And today, if you were to give that to a child, they'd say, where's the Wi-Fi in this? Where are the apps? How does this all connect? So every year, Santa is updating and upgrading the quality of merchandise that passes through his hands. So that's a hallmark of a healthy life, is to keep doing what works. Keep doing what works. People want presents, you bring them presents. And then I thought about one of my favorite characters in Christmas literature, which has absolutely nothing to do with the Christmas story because it's only alluded to in the vaguest possible way in this material. is in Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and particularly the ghost of Jacob Marley. I love the ghost of Jacob Marley. And I've got to put a plug in here, if it's somewhere you can find this on Hulu or something at home. The made-for-TV Christmas Carol with George C. Scott. He peels, as Ebenezer Scrooge, this man peels the paint. And you know the whole story, and I'm not going to take you through the story. He's a crotchety old guy, right? He's mean and he's nasty and he says just awful things. He's completely unfiltered. He says stuff like, are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses that you could put these people in? And he said, well, there are, but I mean, they'd perish. Well, then it would reduce the surplus population. That's monstrous, right? I mean, that's absolutely... He has this business partner named Jacob Marley in the accounting firm. And Marley's been dead, how long is it? 5 years, I think it was? 3 years? You can look it up. 7 years. 7 years? 7 years, okay. I knew it was an auspicious number. Scrooge comes home, he's had a big dinner, he's living in this kind of lavish but sort of threadbare home, and suddenly there's this ghost sitting in his parlor, Marley. He says, I've come to tell you that you still have time. You still have time to change your ways. Scrooge says, why would I want to change my ways? Marley says, look at me. Scrooge says, I notice that you seem bound. You seem shackled in some way. Why is this so? And Marley says, I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link. 'Tis a ponderous chain. Imagine, and I'm paraphrasing here now, he says to Scrooge, I've been dead 7 years. I stopped adding links to my chain. You're still here. Imagine how great your chain is that you sit in. My chain of what? He says, and he starts ticking off his positive qualities, does Scrooge. Well, I'm a prosperous man, and I'm a successful man, and I'm a businessman. And Marley says, and he thunders it, and I'm not going to thunder it at you because we're having a very quiet time here tonight, and I don't want to alarm you or anything, but he says, mankind was my business. Then he tells them that he'll be visited by these spirits. And what do the spirits do? Dainill mentioned the inner child. He's taken back into the past. He's made to see how it is that he became this cranky person, how it is. He was hurt. He was betrayed. He was abandoned. He was neglected. And he never did anything about it. He never went to the source of his own understanding. So this is the second thing that older folks need to realize, is that the work never stops. You keep discovering more about yourself. You keep discovering where you hid your own power back in the day, where you gave your power away. Did your parents get divorced? Did somebody die? Did you not do well in school? Were you ill? Was somebody else ill? And you give your power away to this. And you say, this is a defining moment in my life, and I'm going to carry it, and I'm going to resent it. I'm going to, work with it, but resent it, and also hide it, and also deny it. And you get into all of this complicated psychology, and you wind up an older person, and you just can't see the joy and magic in anything. And this is what we're working to heal. And that brings me to the third thing. So we've got Santa, and we've got Marley's ghost, and we've got Jesus Christ, who never grew old. His life was terminated at the age of more or less 33. But I want to tell you what a friend of mine said one time. He said, I've been visiting his father in the hospital with his siblings. Some of you have heard this story before. And the father was about to make his, what we call make his transition into the next life, off the earth, out of the body. And my friend and siblings were gathered around the bed, and one of the siblings said, wouldn't it be a miracle if he could just get up, the father could just get up and walk out of this hospital? And my friend said, he is going to get up and walk out of this hospital as us. As us. So Jesus has lived on. I don't think he's grown old, because I don't think with the spirit of oneness with his source that he had, you can grow old. All you can do is mature and grow in wisdom, but you don't wither, you know. You don't like prune up, because you've got this source that you go to on a regular basis in spiritual practice. And that's what we're called on tonight. So every time you see on a card or in a song or something like that, you know, live Christmas all throughout the year, like, realize that it's not going to happen to you. It's going to happen from you. Okay? It's not going to be bestowed on you. It's something that you have to graciously do. And so what do we learn from the Christ? We've learned so far, you know, to do your own work as Marley's Ghost, and we've learned as Santa with the predictability, I guess, the continuity, the dependability, to keep showing up in the responsibilities, the obligations, and the relationships that we have. What do we learn from Jesus? Just this, just this. Now, I don't have chapter and verse for you, but they will. Love one another as I have loved you. Love one another as I have loved you. Can't go wrong. Standing on my cord. You see that? Once upon a time, in a far-off land, wise men saw a sign and set out across the sand, songs of praise to sing. They traveled day and night, precious gifts to bring, guided by the light. They chased a brand new star, ever towards the west, across the mountains far. But when it came to rest, they scarce believed their eyes. They'd come so many miles. The miracle they prized was nothing but a child. Nothing but a child could wash those tears away, or guide a weary world into the light of day. Nothing but a child could help erase those miles. So once again we all can be children for a while. In every little town, every day is heard a precious little sound, and every mother kind and every father proud looks down in awe to find another chance allowed. Nothing but a child could wash those tears away or guide a weary world into the light of day. Nothing but a child could help erase those miles. So once again we all can be children for a while. So once again we all can be children for a while. It is that time, isn't it? Yeah.
Here, I'll let you announce and then you can
Okay.
take your.
Has everybody a candle? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to play some music. You're going to hear Pachelbel's Canon in D, which is just gorgeous, and then that's going to segue into Silent Night. As you come up and light your candle off one or all four of the attributes, and this is the Divine Nature candle, which I forgot to light at the top of the program, right here in the middle, and it's the mother, really, of all the virtues, you know. So just imagine that you're drawing down your arm and into your heart, into your whole self, these attributes that you see up here. And if you don't have a need for anything, take it home to the family, all right? Or somebody's struggling that you know, and they could use a little bit of this, okay? You. live in heavenly peace.
All right, and since we've already quoted a Christmas carol, I'm going to close with a Christmas carol. I urge you to keep the spirit of Christmas every day in your heart. And with a thankful heart, I joyously exclaim, God bless us, everyone. And so it is.
So it is.